All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Errol Spence Jr. knocks out Manny Pacquiao. That is a suspicion of Buddy Mcgirt, world-class trainer. He says Errol Spence Jr. is too big, Manny is too old, and I'm telling you that fight might be Muhammad Ali versus Larry Holmes 2.0. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So Buddy Mcgirt was on ES News. I'm going to do a better job of citing my sources so people do not think that somebody came to me with this news. This news was given by ES News on their channel. Shout out to Ellie Sethback. Had an interview with Buddy Mcgirt. Buddy Mcgirt is the trainer of Sergey Kovalev. He was the trainer of Arturo Gatti. He's a former, I do believe he's a former welterweight champion. Did he have a great fight with Pernell Whitaker, I do believe. Just one of the all-around best guys in boxing. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him as a trainer and as a person. For me, ranks right up there along with the other great trainers like Derek James, like Robert Garcia, Nacho Beristain. Man, rest in peace, Nazim Richardson, but Buddy Mcgirt. So he is asked a question by Ellie Sethback. Again, Ellie Sethback asked this question. I did not. What I do on this channel is I read the news and I give you my impression of it. Very rarely do I seek boxers or seek other people to get firsthand information. And the reason that I don't typically do that is because firsthand information is very hard to verify. But if you have established media outlets that are doing the work and pushing the work, man, we as boxing fans can enjoy it and talk about it amongst ourselves. So in this case, Buddy Mcgirt is out there, was asked by ES News, and he says, look, Manny Pacquiao might get knocked out by Errol Spence. Errol Spence is really, really big, and Father Time is undefeated. This should be something that everybody understands. This is not something that is rocket science. It's not something that's avoidable. There will be a time where Manny Pacquiao will not be a great fighter. That's the way the human body works. That's how the progression of time works. Errol Spence Jr. is all wrong in every way, shape, and form for Manny Pacquiao. However, Buddy Mcgirt did say, now Buddy Mcgirt said he may knock him out, but at the same time, Buddy Mcgirt said, hey, there's two fights that I would pay for in boxing. I would pay for Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao, and I would pay for Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford. Now, I do believe that Buddy Mcgirt thinks that Terence Crawford is the best welterweight. You could kind of hear it in the answer. It was specifically when Ellie Sethback said, hey, Errol Spence Jr., the best welterweight in the world. Buddy Mcgirt said, yeah, he didn't answer. He just kind of silent, kind of looked like this, looked down a little bit. And I remember that he had originally talked about who he thought maybe, several months ago, might have been last year, where he was asked about the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford fight. And he's like, man, I would love to see that fight. And I think that he's picking Terence Crawford to win that fight because he believes that Terence Crawford has the whole package and can do pretty much everything, right? So I'm not saying that Buddy Mcgirt is saying that Errol Spence Jr. is the best welterweight because he didn't say it. However, he is talking very much about the reality of Manny Pacquiao. If you look at the last 4 fights for Manny Pacquiao, Lucas Matisse, blown up 140 pounder. Adrian Bronner is Adrian Bronner. Whoop-de-doo. Everybody beats Adrian Bronner. The next one is who? It's Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman coming off of a 2-year layoff. But now Manny Pacquiao, by the next time he fights, it might be a 1.5-year layoff for him. Errol Spence Jr. is fresh. Errol Spence Jr. will absolutely mop Manny Pacquiao. And the reason that I say that is not just the age. Now, look, if Manny Pacquiao was in his prime, and we were talking about not even in his prime, because remember, Manny Pacquiao's prime, let's say it was around the time of the Floyd Mayweather Jr. The Mayweather Jr. fight back in 2017. I don't think that's the case. I think he was in his prime, probably in the midst of the Juan Manuel Marquez fights that took place before that. But if that Manny Pacquiao fought this Errol Spence Jr., he still might get knocked out, still might get beat because of the style of Errol Spence. They're both southpaws. Errol is around 5'9.5", pushing 5'10", so he's about 4 inches taller than Manny Pacquiao. His reach is significantly longer, and he is a pressure fighter with high volume and very good defense that fights in a space that Manny Pacquiao does not like to fight in. Manny Pacquiao likes to hop in and out, get in and out. Errol is not giving you the out. When you hop back, Errol is going forward with you. You have yet to see anybody be able to stay either out of range or on the edge of range with Errol Spence Jr. for any extended amount of time because he is very good at making sure that he stays right within reach of you. That for a guy like Manny Pacquiao is a lot of trouble because when you're older, you try to do what you call old man tricks, right? If you ever play basketball, when you're 22, 18, 22, 23, 24, you can run up and down all day. You can exert, energy, try to dunk on somebody. You can do all that stuff. 5, 6 crossovers, moving all over the place, right? Just because you got energy for days. When you get to be 35, 36, you don't have energy for days. And what you do is when you're playing against people that do have energy for days, you bide your time. You figure out how to make them waste a lot of energy. You make sure you staying clean and neat as tight as you can. You use a couple old man tricks, a little elbow here, a little trip there, that type of stuff to use your mind to overcome the youth and athleticism of the other person. And that for a long time will work. Like when you have a lot of your athleticism left. But there comes a point in time when that young person that had all the energy, that has the technique, has the skill, has the energy, but doesn't have the experience, there comes a point when they have the experience. And when you no longer have the physical attributes to stall them out, right? To use gamesmanship. When they have the experience and the majority of their strength and athleticism left, and you just have your mind and you don't have your athleticism, you're going to get knocked out. And that, my friend, is Larry Holmes versus Muhammad Ali. That was happening. If Ali had fought Larry Holmes, let's say back in 1974 or 75 instead of 1980, he might have been able to beat Larry Holmes. He might have been able to play, he might have been able to stall, grab, hold, do whatever he needed to get himself through that fight at his advanced age against this young future Hall of Fame fighter that was coming up underneath him. But that didn't happen because by the time they fought, Ali's physical abilities were completely gone. And Larry Holmes had been through his wars with Ken Norton. I do believe Ken Norton happened before that, with Ernie Shavers, with those type of guys. He was all the way there. And you saw what happened with Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen with Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence Jr., which is why I'm telling you, do not expect that fight to get made. But that is my take on the matter, and I agree with Buddy Mcgirt in this particular circumstance. I added my thoughts to it. You let me know what you think, and with that, I'm out. Peace.